Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports podcast. I'm Raffi, as always, joined by Davian and Theodore. Boys, it is almost time for Super Wildcard Weekend, not just regular Wildcard Weekend. We have a Super Wildcard Weekend. It really is just all rematches from the regular season, but Super Wildcard Weekend. Boys,
All
how are we
right, quick
doing?
question. Quick question. How many years, right? How many years of this expanded playoffs until we stop calling it Super Wild Card Weekend? How long
Well,
until
it's
like the
being
Super
marketed as
Card?
that, so unfortunately, I don't foresee that changing for a while.
Well, when they expand to like 16 teams, what's it going to be? Super duper Wild Card Weekend? Like, how far are we going to go?
Uh,
Super
this
awesome
wild
fun
card
time
weekend
wildcard
is as
weekend.
super as the college football championship game. I think that's how it's going to turn out. I think we're going to have a few good games. You know, the Cowboys, Bucks, Chargers, Jaguars. But other than that, I think it's going to be kind of like the college football playoffs.
I think you're leaving out one key matchup there, Davian. I think you're probably sleeping on a certain quarterback.
We'll have to see for later
I
on in the
don't
podcast.
sleep.
So you guys
I
are
don't
going to
sleep on
stay
any
tuned for
quarterback.
that. But let's
We
first
will
talk about
see
the
about
college
that.
football playoff championship, national championship, which occurred on Monday. And I watched the entire thing. Thank you, Pat McAfee, Field Pass, for taking me through that game. A lot of people saw the minus 13 and a half. I, for one, am not a betting man. But if I were to bet, I would have certainly bet that TCU would have covered that and kept
Yeah,
it
for
within
sure.
two scores. They did not keep it within two scores. In fact, it took till the second quarter for that lead to be over two scores, and Georgia wound up winning by almost 60.
Yeah. That was a rough game. We all had high hopes for TCU, and it just never, materialized. And Stetson Bennett, I mean, absolutely absurd, right? Greatest QB in Georgia history now. It's like
And it's
wild.
it really is a shame
Yeah.
though, because Max Duggan was just he didn't get into a groove at the start and never really was able to get a few throws under his belt. Slowly lead TCU on a deep drive. Obviously, they had their one touchdown drive in the first quarter, but there wasn't any time when he was just slinging and digging and getting all these good
Nope.
completions down. Every time he threw a ball longer than 10 yards, it felt like he was missing that throw, and it really hurt TCU's offense trying to get into a rhythm. I heard a lot of Alabama fans talking like, "Oh, why did TCU get in? Oh, we should have gotten in." Da da
Oh
da.
yeah, that was absurd.
But
That's
all
absurd.
I need to
TCU
say
just
is
had a much better season than
you shouldn't
Alabama.
have lost to LSU and Tennessee. And also, in the grand scheme of things, TCU, the way they played against Michigan, I don't see a reason why they didn't belong. They didn't deserve to get absolutely hosed by Georgia. Because in all likelihood, with how Michigan's defense played versus TCU last week, had Michigan come back, I think Michigan would have gotten whacked too by Georgia. Georgia,
Yeah.
right from the get go, was on a mission, and they said we are going back to back, and no one is stopping us.
Right. I mean, it was absolutely perfect season. I mean, incredible what they were able to do. Ton of talent, and yeah, I just don't think any team in the nation would have stood a chance.
Quick
Yeah,
pause.
I think this Bulldogs team has just played the way that everyone was expecting them to. I guess like kind of like they were never really the underdogs throughout the season, but nobody really expected them to like go all the way. But when they did, like nobody right now is saying here like shocked. Like nobody, if I was to tell you back in September, like oh Georgia's gonna win it all, nobody would be particularly be like oh wow like there's no way that's gonna happen. There's clearly they had the pieces in place, and I mean a wild story for them to go back home in the storybooks.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
obviously, yeah,
Georgia was the only college football playoff pick I nailed preseason. I want to say I picked them to win the championship. I
you
can't
picked Notre
confirm.
Dame going, I think, to the final.
I know Notre Dame was going to the final, yeah, and we're not even going to talk about Iowa because that was
That was
probably the
freezing cold
worst pick
takes.
I've ever made.
Just
But
wait.
no, look, Georgia, we knew they had the talent. I think a lot of us thought they'd get stopped somewhere, but incredible the way the team came together. And Kirby Smart maybe coming for Saban's throne. I don't know. We'll see.
Brock
Look, I
Bowers
would just like to say my college
is the
predictions were
second
the
coming
best
of
ones
Kyle
out there.
Pitts. What was that, Davian?
My predictions were the best when it came to college predictions.
Probably
Rutgers doing great. Oregon, winning
Alabama.
yeah, Bama. The only correct one
Oregon
was
was
two.
not able to win the Big 12 though.
Yeah,
No,
Oregon
Although
disappointed.
with TCU being, I think they were projected to finish ninth in the Big 12. I don't think Davian was too far off in that outlandish of a take. So I will give credit where it's due. Brock Bowers, as I was just mentioning, is a dog, also bulldog, but also just insane. They got him going early, and man, it paid off. Also, Georgia's defense again. You lose, I believe, 5 first-round picks last year in the NFL draft, and my goodness, those guys. Then you bring in Carson Beck, and Carson Beck is just slinging it. He's going to be a really good player for Georgia next year. I normally don't like to pick teams with first-year quarterbacks unless they're Alabama going to the college football playoff. But with the 12-team playoff, and then with how Carson Beck played, and obviously we'll see how things change over the upcoming months, I really like this Georgia team to potentially at least make the college football playoff again because I can't imagine them not being a top 12 team.
I agree with that, yeah.
Wait, are we at 12 next year?
I believe it is either this
I thought we
upcoming.
had to wait a couple years before we jumped.
I believe that it is this upcoming season, but
That would be absolutely incredible.
I am more than happy. Oh, sorry. Pardon me. It is the 2024-2025 season, so the year after next year.
One more year.
Regardless, Georgia being a top 4 team, not too far-fetched. I really don't think we need 12 teams, but regardless, it is what it is. Moving on, let's get into the big meat of the show, the NFL playoffs, Super Wildcard Weekend, as we made fun of earlier today during the intro. All these games are rematches, so this allows a lot of teams to maybe past mistakes. They can fix them. Teams normally don't lose 3 times to the same opponent in a season. Yeah. Obviously, normally because most teams don't play each other 3 times during a season. But by the third time, you'd have to imagine that some of these teams kind of understand who they're playing against. Let's start off with the first game on Saturday, 3:30. Seattle versus the 49ers. Geno Smith versus Brock Purdy. I really like the Niners going on a deep run this year. It just feels like they can plug and play any quarterback. Heck, they can sign me and put me in a QB, and I think that I'd be able to lead this team pretty far just by the pure fact that all the talent they have surrounding the quarterback, Brock Purdy, is astounding, and that defense is arguably one of the best in the league.
I'm taking Seattle. I believe in Geno Smith. I believe in the Seattle team. I believe they will win.
That's an interesting take. They played a couple weeks ago, right? And Seattle kept it within 8. It's like the 49ers, top to bottom, if you remove the position of quarterback, are the best team in the NFL. And I don't even think I think it's pretty clear cut. Brock Purdy, he's been great. I don't know if I can trust this guy, this Mr. Irrelevant.
You can never trust a rookie QB in the playoffs, period.
Yeah.
You can never trust a rookie QB in the playoffs.
Davian would know what Matt Jones last year.
Seattle does enough things right where I really want to pick the upset. It's just, you've won 10 straight games. I think you've had, had 2 different guys start.
See, exactly. And this is my problem. Seattle just backed their way into the playoffs. They kind of just fell backwards into the playoffs. I think they were 7-3 at some point.
If we were talking Detroit in this game, I think it's a much different argument.
I agree. Even Green Bay, I'd say it makes a compelling argument to be picked over San Francisco. Although
Aaron Rodgers would never beat the 49ers.
Right. Although I don't think it would happen. I think it would be a closer game. My main critique is if the NFL playoffs started like week 11, you can make a good argument for Seattle, especially with the new news about, Brock Purdy, who's this guy, yada, yada, yada. And Seattle was really good for about just over midway through the season. But they just kind of, again, as I mentioned, they kind of just fell on their butts and just fell backwards. Like, we're in the playoffs. So,
Geno, he's been a great story, but
it's worn off.
He has my issue is I just can't trust Brock Purdy. That's my issue, and I feel like McCaffrey could be slowed down by the Seahawks defense.
I think I trust Brock Purdy to not throw the game away.
I agree. I think the Niners defense as a whole will give Geno Smith a bunch of fits. And I just don't think that they have weapons on offense. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if they're capable of pulling off a massive upset and being the Niners.
Agreed.
In San Francisco. Moving on to one of the arguably best games, and this is really weird to say because it's Jaguars versus the Chargers. The
Food for
Jaguars
thought.
finished the season very strong. They started after week 10, 3-7, and just clawed their way back, thanks to the Titans also just falling on their faces, which was hilarious to watch. This game should be interesting. Obviously, Joe Staley, head coach of the Chargers, made the very weird decision to start all the starters in a meaningless game versus Denver Broncos, and thus Mike Williams got hurt. He's day to day. He has not. I don't think he practiced yesterday. I'm not sure if he practiced today. Joey Bosa also was a bit dinged up. He is expected to be good to go. But regardless, I had the Jaguars. I said it week 3. Although the video didn't do well on TikTok, you guys can check the receipt. I thought this Jaguars team, partially because how bad the AFC South is, I had them winning the AFC South. And right now, I really do think that they can beat the Chargers. I think the Chargers are just going to charger it up at some point. They haven't chargered it yet. It's like the Falcons. We all know at some point they're going to choke. The Chargers, I just have a feeling that they're just going to blow it in some fashion. Also, Trevor Lawrence has been, aside from last week, he's looked good, and the defense also really stood out to me versus Tennessee.
Yeah. This is, as you said, one of the best games of the first round. I'm really excited for this one. The Jags are just, I don't know, they're just too hot.
They're a
right
fun
now
young team.
This Chargers team, right? You know, I'm not going to, so many people have made the comparison to the Bengals last year. I'm not quite going to do that, but I do think this team will find a way to win. Doug Peterson is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I always respected him when he was at Philly. Now I can publicly praise him. Yeah, I think the Chargers will compete, but I like Jacksonville to find a way.
Also, to just defend your point too, it's very uncommon where we see the 4th best team in each conference make the Super Bowl like we did last year with the Rams and the Bengals. Also, it's crazy. The Rams and Cardinals was a wild card matchup last year, and both of them are, I believe, have top 5 picks. Obviously, the Rams pick has gone the way to Detroit, but it's crazy how things change. And yeah, once again, I just think normally we see the top 2 teams in each conference, one of those 2, respectively, will go to the Super Bowl. Davian, your pick.
I got the Chargers here simply because, yes, Mike Williams is injured, but I still think that they would be able to compete well and hard against the Jaguars. Another thing is Trevor Lawrence, according to the injury report, is being limited in practice due to a toe injury. Now, look, I'm not going to say, oh, gosh, it's a toe. It's like a limited in practice. He's done. No, but he is limited in practice. He is facing injury, I believe, after a couple of hits by this, insane Chargers defensive line, he could get banged up. He could slow down in his game. I'm taking the Chargers here. I just think that while I love the Jaguars story the same way I love the Seahawks story, I just can't see that the Jaguars overcoming the Chargers. Also, again, cannot take a QB in their first time in the playoffs. I know that's Herbert's also first time, but Herbert's just been in the league for a longer period of time. I'm picking the Chargers.
Finally, an above 500 career quarterback. So congratulations, Justin Herbert. It took you a little bit of time, but you got there. Sunday, noon, Central Time, Dolphins versus Bills, which could have been a really good game if it wasn't for the fact that Tua's out. So Skylar Thompson, no offense to him, if you're watching the podcast, we really appreciate you. Would love to have you on at some point. But Skylar Thompson is set to start. Teddy Bridgewater with a finger injury, I believe, is also likely ruled out. Tyreek Hill got a bit dinged up this past week versus the Jets, I believe. So he should be good to go. And obviously, him and Mahomes somehow got better without each other, which is just ridiculous to think about. But Tyreek Hill should be still good to go. I can't imagine anything keeping him out of this playoff match from what I've heard. So yeah. I think the Bills, though, I just think it's destiny for them.
All off season and all throughout this season, so basically for the past 10 months, I've been saying the Bills will not win a playoff game this year. It's been a thing that I've said time after time.
Yep, I recall
and
this.
I can't stand by that. I mean, come on. Skylar Thompson, you're cool and all. Like, I'm sure you're a good guy, but you're not going to defeat this Buffalo Bills team. So, don't worry, Bills fans. You're going to lose, like, the first time you play a real playoff team, but they'll...
So in the divisional.
Yeah, in the divisional round. So they'll probably win this by a good 25 points, though.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills. I'll agree with you guys on here. There's no way the Dolphins win. Point blank.
I just think, well, I'll preview my potential Super Bowl pick. I just think the Bills, with all the adversity they fought through this year, I just think it's destiny. And although we do know that you don't really always get a storybook ending when you want to end your career, just look at Aaron Rodgers, for example. No offense to the Green Bay Packers, but you lost to the Lions. Different Detroit Lions, still lost to the Lions. But I just
Yeah.
think that this is
Also,
it's just destiny.
the one other thing that needs to be mentioned, the fact that there are 2 7th-round rookies starting playoff games this year is absurd. I mean, come on. I like it. I like a good underdog story, and I hope
Oh,
others will.
absolutely, absolutely. It's just unfortunate
Yeah.
that one of them absolutely is going to get knocked out of the first round. Moving on to the 3:30 Central time game, we
Or
have
4:30 for real people.
the New Jersey Giants taking on the Minnesota Vikings, and I, for one, am not going to say anything yet because I want to throw it over to our residential New York Giants fan, Theodore. Theodore, break down this game, break down your thoughts. I'm sure that you're going to pick the Minnesota Vikings here. Who do we have? Do we have the team that Theodore called early on in the season, winning the NFC North? We all called him a bunch of ridiculous names for choosing that. That's paid off. Or does he go with his true love, the New York Giants? I think we all know
Yeah.
the answer, but
Yes, I think you do. Obviously, it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings, right?
absolutely.
Anyway, though, look, we almost beat the Vikings less than 3 weeks ago.
Keyword almost.
And when I say almost, I'm serious. Like,
Couple catches.
we outplayed this team. Danny balled out. He threw a pick that I'd say was the receiver's fault. You know,
Scoreboard.
we fumbled the ball. We dropped interceptions. We muffed a
Scoreboard.
punt. Richie James couldn't catch a ball down the stretch to save his life. It's like we outplayed this team in every way, shape, and form. And then we lost. You know, we lost on a 61-yard field goal as time expired. The fact of the matter is, we're a team with a ton of momentum. You know, offensively, we've been on fire ever since the Washington game back mid-December. I really, really, really think that we're going to win this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if we win it by a good margin. I think, you know, you always talk about the Vikings being 11-0 in one-score games. I think we win this game by multiple possessions to move on to the next round.
Brian Daboll has just built such a great culture with the Giants this year, and I know Theodore obviously you can be a big advocate on that. And I just think that this Giants team is just different than the ones we've seen in years past. And I'm not just saying because I have yet to see any Giants players post a picture on a boat this past week. So I think that's obviously a really good thing and bodes well for the Giants. And just like the LA Kings, when they enter the playoffs as like an eight seed or a low seed, and you could just be like, this team's going to go for it. Or the San Francisco Giants in an even year back in the day, you just knew that they were going to go on a run regardless of what seed they were. The Giants have history on their side being a lower seed. Obviously, Theodore would be more than happy to break that down. But Davian, who do you have in this matchup? Also, to note, Kirk Cousins technically not in prime time, so that's another thing as well.
It's the playoffs, though. It's prime time. He'll find a way to choke.
Look, as much as I want to pick the Vikings, I can't. I just can't. I just think
Are we
this
doing the college
Giants-
game day thing? Oh, this is the curse right now. We all pick the Giants. Oh no.
Yeah, I just seriously can't. I think that I just think the Giants come out on top. I think they have the momentum on their side. I think the Vikings have been kind of falling apart at the end of the season. I think Theodore is right. It was a very close game. As much as I can keep saying scoreboard, the Giants were very close to winning. I think that things go in their favor this time. I think the Giants are going to be a very composed team. Brian Dable is going to really kind of create a culture of winning. And yes, even though it's Daniel Jones' first time in the playoffs, I still believe that it's less of a concern simply because you have such a strong presence at the coaching job, and just overall the culture itself is going to carry the Giants through this game. On to just losing in the second round, but hey, at least you won in the wild card.
Progress. Also, Theodore, quick question. There are rumors that DeAndre Hopkins might get traded. Obviously, he won't get traded for David Johnson and like a third round pick. That's an absolutely ridiculous trade that I can't imagine anyone doing. But Theodore, if the Giants are picking in the low to mid 20 range, obviously I know you'd say no, they're picking 31. But if they're picking in the 20-25 range, would you trade that pick for DeAndre Hopkins?
No, I wouldn't. We got too
No.
many players we need to extend. Guys like Dexter Lawrence and obviously Saquon and Danny coming up. He's 30. I think we can find a better receiver. We got Wan'Dale Robinson coming back. I'd say use the first rounder on a receiver tight end.
Yeah, I think that no team really, like the Giants or even, in my case, the Patriots should be trading for DeAndre Hopkins.
Unless the Cardinals are willing to eat.
Now, if you want a guy who kind of plays like a DeAndre Hopkins, Quentin Johnston for TCU has been crazy good over the past few weeks.
Yeah.
I've definitely taken some time to really look at him over the past couple of weeks from what I've heard about him, and he looks like, obviously his projection is a first round pick, but he definitely looks like he could be a really good wide receiver in the NFL. So that's another guy just in general for both your teams who are very wide receiver needy, even my team, but I think the Falcons go for the trenches in some sort of way. Moving on to Ravens-Bengals at 8:15 Eastern, as the cool kids I guess would say, per Theodore Fernandez. This was going to be a really good game until there's lots of clouds on whether or not Lamar Jackson's going to be playing. He hasn't been practicing at all this week, so that's obviously a concern. I am making this pick assuming that he's out. Tyler Huntley is also hurt. He's not expected to play in replacement of Lamar Jackson. So Anthony Brown, the rookie, might start again versus the Bengals. I think we all saw the story last week.
Undrafted, too.
Right. So
2 seventh rounders and an undrafted.
Great story. Congratulations. Here's a first round exit.
Yeah. Joe Shiesty, my guy, is out for revenge. Come on. I don't even think he'd lose this game if Lamar started. I like the Bengals to win by a wide margin here.
Lamar Jackson has not practiced in 16 has missed 16 straight practices. So
yeah, he is not going to make it back. Even if he is, he has never been a great playoff performer.
Right. And this obviously we can talk about in the offseason, but obviously getting hurt multiple times this year is not going to really help Lamar Jackson's case for getting that extension he wants in Baltimore.
He will not be a Baltimore Raven next year, I think.
Agreed. But I also would say that his recent injury history would make him push even harder for a fully guaranteed contract, as we know far too well now over the past couple of weeks. The lifespan of a lifespan being just like an NFL career for a player can be cut short very quickly due to injuries.
If Deshaun can get a fully guaranteed contract,
so can Lamar.
Anyone can, right? Lamar's got to be able to get one somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. Moving on to the Monday night game, we have two teams that quite literally, I mean, I guess with the Minnesota Vikings as well, you can say this, but Tampa Bay and Dallas are arguably the most boomer bust teams. Them losing and starting all their guys versus the Commanders in the fashion that they did, obviously there was plenty of gaffes that made it look like they really weren't playing for much regardless, but obviously not a great way for me at least to watch them enter the playoffs. I have to pick the Buccaneers because I am not legally obligated, but I am very scared of Tom Brady and getting burned on him for the 5 billionth time. So I sadly will be going with Brady and the Bucs. Just Tom Brady's going to just find a way. They're going to be down 2 scores with 5 minutes left in the game, and then Rain Dakota Prescott's going to throw a pick or something, or Zeke's just going to fumble the ball, and then Tampa's going to score. And then the Tampa's going to get an onside kick, and somehow it's going to be recovered because it bounces off Jerry Jones's foot. Like, who knows? Like, some ridiculous way Tom Brady's going to win a game. So, unfortunately, I don't have a voodoo doll, so I have to go Tampa.
Tampa Tom is going to win, and I would say he's going to win it all.
Yep.
Please no.
Look, Tom Brady was my preseason. The Bucs were my preseason Super Bowl pick. I said on our TikTok, I made 2023 year predictions. Check it out, and one of them was that Brady would win a Super Bowl either this year or the next, the next playoffs coming up. He's the GOAT. He's not going away, and he sure as hell is not losing to the Dallas Cowboys.
Nope, he's not.
It's such a shame too, because with Micah Parsons and that Dallas defense that's been playing really well this year, you'd have to imagine versus a dinged up Tampa Bay offensive line that somehow the Cowboys would be able to win this game. But the dark magic, the deal with the devil that Tom Brady made, which, for the record, that might be one of the worst trades ever for the devil with all the leeway he's given Tom Brady over the past couple of years. No, I'm not
Well,
still scarred by
he made Tom
28-3.
Brady lose his wife and his fortune in the past year, so like maybe stuff's evening out now, right?
I guess the Thanos meme and what did it cost everything meme, I guess that really does hold some truth to the career of Tom Brady. Was Avengers Endgame about Tom Brady? Tune into next week where we discuss. Yeah, but I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being the Cowboys, but I really do hope that the Cowboys can win because I'd like to see the Cowboys go on a bit of a run this year.
No one else wants to see that.
I do.
Moving on, let's give our
I'll just love this stuff.
picks of who's going to win the AFC and NFC, aka our Super Bowl matchup, and who we think is going to win. I have the 2 seeds, the Bills and the Niners. The Eagles, I just think are going to choke at some point. Jalen Hurts has been dealing with some injury, a little dinged up over the past couple of weeks, and obviously with him being a very mobile quarterback, that concerns me. Look at Lamar Jackson for my first case study. I have the Niners taking on the Bills. The Bills, Buffalo all the way this time. The third time is the charm. The San Francisco 49ers are going down. Again, I said it. This team, they're just a team of destiny, and I'm going to let my heart get in the way of my brain. My brain could make a good pick and good reasoning why the Bills would win the Super Bowl, but I'm riding fully on my heart and saying the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Also, Kyle Shanahan losing again in the Super Bowl would just make my heart even.
I'll let you take this one, Davian, first.
All right, I got Chargers, Buccaneers. Buccaneers come out on top.
Wow,
that is.
Well, I know.
You're really
I know,
not trying to get
completely
any
coming
ratings
out of
for that
left
Super
field,
Bowl.
but I just see it
Well, I guess
happening.
we're-
I have a lot of hope in this Chargers team. And of course, I'm rooting for the Tampa Tom, and I think Tampa Tom's going to carry the Bucks through. Why do I see the Chargers winning? Because I think I see the Chargers really pulling off like a game winner against the Bills, and I just see them being able to take care of the Chiefs simply because it's going to be their third time playing. And every other game, like Chargers Chiefs, has been fairly close. I'm also not a great fan of this Chiefs team. I think they're good, but I don't see anything stellar on the team. Of course, Isaiah Pacheco is insane, but I don't see them.
McKinnon has been a
Jerick
revelation for the Kansas City Chiefs offense over the past couple of weeks.
I just don't see them really breaking through this time.
See, Davian, the key word though that I took away from your analysis was hope, and the Chargers are part of a trifecta of teams, the Falcons and Lions being the other two, where you are not allowed to have hope, because if you have hope in any of these teams, you are setting yourself up for large disappointment. So,
the Chargers are going to get knocked out in the first round, but there's still a chance. I think that they would go through.
Justin Herbert, it's time. Theodore.
Well, okay. First of all, believe it or not, Davian, that was my preseason Super Bowl pick. Bucks over Chargers.
But the Chargers looked much better back in the preseason.
Yeah, they looked much better back then. Do I still agree with it? No, I do not. First of all, in the AFC, I like the Bengals to repeat. Super Bowl hangover has not affected them. They started out slow, but they're just on a tear right now. Everyone at full strength. I see them running through the AFC. In the NFC, hear me out, guys.
No.
We are going to be the Vikings, right? We've all established. We all agree.
No. I don't know.
Divisional round. Who would we play? The Philadelphia Eagles.
No.
Last week, we almost beat the Eagles with our third-string quarterback and full team of backups in.
You lost.
Eddie Galladay caught a touchdown on him.
David, I'm sorry, we can't. I don't know how to mute Theodore.
You cannot beat a team 3 times in one season.
Oh, you're using my words. You're using my words against me now.
You will find a way to beat the Eagles in the divisional round.
No.
Next stage. What matchup did I predict in the other divisional matchup? It would be Bucks 49ers. We have beaten the 49ers in 3 out of our 4 Super Bowl runs in our franchise's history. Look it up. It's true. We would be able to take down...
this 49ers seems way too good. No.
And now, if Tampa wins, we'd have a matchup with Tom Brady in the playoffs. We all know how those go.
No, come on.
Basically, the way I look at it, we have like an automatic path into the Super Bowl. And once we're there, Joe, I love you. I love Joe Burrow. But no, Daniel Jones will be hoisted
No, come
the
on.
Lombardi Trophy in
No.
February, along with Saquon.
Okay,
and
as much as
Brian
I talked about
and
culture,
his amazing
it's the
cast
Giants'
teammate.
first time in the playoffs. They're not going far. Come
It's
on.
just not
No.
happening. I can't see that happening unless Mario Manningham is resurrected. He's not dead, but his career gets resurrected, and somehow the Giants can sign him so he can make a bunch of
Kenny
nonsense
Galladay
miracle
is the
catches
resurrection of Mario Manningham.
where he just shows up in the playoffs. And
Yeah.
that's why we
No,
haven't
I'm
seen.
trying to.
That's why we haven't seen Kenny Galladay play well in what
Exactly.
feels like 4 years. So I guess it checks out then. Oh, that's what playing for the Lions and the Giants will do for you, I guess. But this is the new New York Giants. But yes.
Yes.
But regardless,
Look, I gave perfect logic for all of those picks. It's
That
not like
was
I'm just-
zero
it's not
You're
like I'm
logic in
using
that
just
historical
Giants.
not this,
trends.
like fan.
You're using historical trends to mold your opinions, which I just
Yeah.
don't really
You had
dispute.
Eli Manning back then. You don't have Eli Manning anymore.
Daniel
is
Jones
literally
kind of
a
is.
fast-
He kind of is Eli Manning.
I would say Eli Manning is better than Daniel Jones.
I'd say I agree, but just the makeup of the two, it just makes sense.
Look, Eli won
That's
a Super
true,
Bowl
but
in his
Eli's
fourth
better.
season. Daniel Jones is going to win a Super Bowl in his fourth season. I don't know what part of this is so hard to understand.
Of course.
The stars are not aligning,
The
Theodore.
stars
They're
are
just not
literally
aligning,
aligned. I've
man.
given all the proof of why the
No,
stars
Theodore,
are aligned.
they're just
You guys
not.
will.
They're like this, and you think they're like this,
This
man.
is our year.
No.
We will find out if it's a Giants year over the next couple weeks, and obviously we'll be back
Yes.
next week to talk about the
Watch
Giants'
them
first
crash out
round
of the
loss
playoffs against
versus
the
the Minnesota
Vikings.
Vikings. But regardless, I think one thing we can all agree on is we're all waiting for the divisional round because those games are going to be so much better than the Super Wildcard weekend. So for Theodore, for Davian, we hope you enjoyed. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Benchwarmer_sports. We are on the road to 1,000. We hit 500 before the new year, which was amazing. So be sure to follow us there. Subscribe to our channel. We're going to be getting up some YouTube shorts over the next couple of weeks. You guys are going to want to stick around for those, and maybe a Blackhawks video coming up in the next couple of days or weeks. So stay tuned for that stuff. Once again, for Theodore, for Davian, we hope you enjoyed this edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and fly Eagles fly.
Let's go Giants.
Peace.